What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Dummy Wormy, and over the past couple of days, I have been on the Jake the Viking did nothing wrong train. I'm going to stay on that train. I still believe Jake the Viking did nothing wrong. What I will say is Jake the Viking did F up. Big time. Because for those of you who aren't aware, last week it got revealed that yes, Mr. Beast hired an RSO by the name of Delaware. It was then revealed by Jake the Viking that Delaware was in fact his brother-in-law, and yes, he was an RSO. Now, the situations around him being an RSO is very sketchy, to say the least, considering the incident took place back in 2005, and he did not get charged with said allegations until roughly 2010. Is really weird, to say the least. On top of that, it was not Jake the Viking who hired Delaware. It was Mr. Beast who hired Delaware first, and then through that, they got Jake the Viking. So this whole story boils down to people just trying to take down Jake the Viking for some reason when Mr. Beast hired him. It wasn't Jake, it was Mr. Beast. But this situation is very interesting because you have all sorts of people coming out here. You have Nathan W. who's coming out here saying, so we're canceling Jake the Viking for not disclosing that the guy his sister married is an RSO. But Mr. Beast knew he was and hired him. Not only did he hire him, but he made him the manager. I think we're focusing on the wrong thing here. And I agree with that, but I gotta be honest, y'all are kind of looking a little sketchy yourselves. I'm on your guys' side, but I gotta call balls and stripes because you come over here to Keemstar. Now, Keemstar has been on this train of trying to implicate Jake the Viking, essentially feeding minors to Delaware, but it's more of a just doesn't look good, doesn't seem like he actually fed anybody to anything. But you come over here, Jake the Viking flew a 17-year-old out to meet Delaware. Through these screenshots, you see Nate even mentioning, hey, Delaware was Mr. Beast's manager. Unfortunately, I met Delaware IRL multiple times. As you can see it's all over the place. Yes, Nate met Delaware. But you come over here to somewhat of what actually happened, and we got another tweet to respond to this as well. But you got Jake the Viking right here. Keem, you're not only a POS, but also a liar. Nate and I were friends. He was also friends with my ex, and I invited him down to ghost hunt with your narrator on the battleship North Carolina with the permission of his parents. Good try, bud. Oh, don't believe me? Here's the video. Good to link to the video, but we're going to get to the other stuff because you get Keemstar obviously trying to rally this up, saying, so you admit you did invite a 17-year-old to meet Delaware. No, he was not invited to meet Delaware. He was invited to hang out with me, my ex, your narrator, and my camera guy to go on a ghost hunt with the permission of his parents. Okay, let's try a different question. Did you introduce the 17-year-old Nathan to Delaware? At the time, it was looking like no, and I still stand on I don't think Nathan was introduced to Delaware. But Nathan came out and made a statement today, and it's not good. It's not anywhere near Chris Tyson talking to minors or any of that stuff. It's not a good look, guys. And there's still questions revolving around Delaware's RSO status and what actually happened there. So take it as it is, but this isn't a good look nonetheless. When I was 17, I flew out to meet Jake the Viking and his girlfriend at the time in North Carolina. This was during a very dark time in my life when I just recently had a life-saving emergency surgery and lost a lot of friends and a lot of opportunities due to my declining mental state. I had also just left Chris' Discord server and basically got shunned by everyone involved. Jake knew I was going through a rough time and decided to invite me to hang out with him and his girlfriend a few times with my parents' permission to ride his new jet skis and film some YouTube videos. We had already been online friends for about a year. We played video games and streamed together a lot on Twitch during this time. At this time, we hung out in person. It was always a group. Usually it was me, Jake, his ex and his videographer. Never once did I ever feel uncomfortable in the slightest. Jake was always incredibly respectful and kind. No sexual comments slash jokes were ever made, in contrast to what happened in Chris's Discord server when I was 15. And no boundaries were ever crossed like some people are insinuating. I could believe that. I could firmly believe that Jake the Viking would have made sure everything was above board, was always trying to make sure that the kid was having a good time. From my interactions with Jake the Viking, and I will be honest, I've had some interactions with Jake the Viking as of late, he seems like a decent guy to me, and he seems like he's not going to screw up that royally. What I will say is not a good look. I don't think Jake screwed up at all in this situation. It doesn't look good, and this whole situation looks bad. But again, Mr. Beast is the one that hired him. As for Jake's brother-in-law, when I went to his house, he wasn't even home, and I didn't go inside. We were filming an AD for Jake in the backyard. However, I did briefly meet him a few times while picking up Jake's jet skis from his parents' house and at his parents' store. I barely ever even had any interaction with him, and I certainly was never alone with him. Now, I could believe that. And to be quite honest, kid was 17 at the time. I don't know how old Nathan W. is right now or how long ago this whole situation would have taken place. Let me be perfectly clear. If you don't know somebody's an RSO, you're not going to be freaking out. And if from your perspective, from Jake's perspective, if he thinks that his brother-in-law didn't do anything wrong and just was railroaded by the system, he had to plead guilty to doing something wrong, whatever the situation may be, you're not going to think about it. You're never going to think about this being a problem, okay? And on top of that, you have what appears to be adults around all the time, fully knowing nothing's going to happen. If they were left alone together, maybe a different story, but from what I'm gathering here, there was always somebody else there to make sure nothing went out of hand, that Nathan was always safe, secure, protected. That's fine. But the whole RSO thing does throw a wrench into the system, and this, from where I'm sitting, I'm not trying to play defender here. I could safely say this is bad look. Horrible look. Should not have happened. Probably should have used your brain a little bit more, but here's the thing. If you weren't going to expect like the Chris Tyson thing to blow up in Delaware to become this huge story situation, you'd never think that maybe it's a bad idea to just have this guy hanging out with us even anywhere near this dude, even if it's just for a brief second. That's not going to click to you. If you're not thinking that this dude is a problem, you don't know the situation very well. From your perspective, he looks like he got railroaded. You're not going to think it through. That's just the reality. That even goes to Mr. Beast hiring him. Mr. Beast shouldn't have hired him. Jake the Viking probably should have always made sure that Nathan was far away from him. But again, hindsight's always 20/20. And all of this stuff, nothing bad happened is what I'm trying to get at. Just a bad look. This has been yet again another attempt to redirect the attention away from where it should be going. Mr. Beast hired Delaware, knowing his past and knew what Chris was doing. That is true. That is 100% true. This whole Delaware story is a misdirect and is trying to take people off the actual ball. You got to remember that. Is the Delaware story somewhat important? Yes, but it's not the main importance right now. This is a bunch of people trying their hardest to move the needle somewhere else and lay blame at Jake the Viking's feet when Jake the Viking did not hire him, did not introduce him to Mr. Beast, and had nothing to do with that. And when the whole situation looks like is, again, Jake the Viking's brother-in-law was railroaded. That's how I am constantly seeing this situation. But apparently that's not something to be talked about anymore. Chris Tyson sent Ron in a Discord chat with several minors in it, including myself, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If I'm a victim of anyone, it's Chris, not Jake. I do like that part. It is a bad move and a bad look that Jake even introduced Nathan W. to Delaware, even if it was just slight second. I can say that all day and night. That is not something good. Jake shouldn't have done that. I can get all the defenses there. I can still levy the criticism. Bad move. But on top of that, Jake didn't hire him. Jake was not a part of that process. Jimmy knew the whole time, and Jimmy is the big one here. But for some reason, we have to levy everything at Jake right now. And I think I know why. And if you go check out my previous video on the brand new PR company that Mr. Beast hired that assisted in the cover-up of Harvey Weinstein's entire story, might lead some more credence there and potentially some people being paid off. But we scroll down here. You've already been caught lying once. You see this? You know, more Discord leaks. I had no idea until earlier this month. Did you know your boss's brother-in-law / manager was a kitty dealer? Had no idea until earlier this month. I went to the dude's house when I was 17. Mr. Beast's manager and Jake's brother-in-law. Unfortunately, I met Delaware IRL multiple times. None of those are lies. All those are essentially, hey, I met him and I didn't realize it was him until just earlier this month. That's kind of what all those ended up meaning. But you're trying to plead these as lies, and I don't like what Nathan has to say here, and now I'm telling the truth. How many times and how badly have you lied about people as a journalist to the point where you've made someone off themselves? Now, that is a false story. That's all about Etika. That was not Keemstar that did that. That was something completely unrelated. A whole long line thing. Should not be taking it that direction. But let's be honest here. Jake, you screwed up. Say it all day and night. You screwed up. I can understand why you screwed up. Normal people don't think this way. From what you're seeing, it's probably something completely different. It makes sense, logically speaking, from a human standpoint. Shouldn't have done it, but it's not the end of the world kind of thing. Also, Nathan was looking like he was protected at all times in this entire story. The story, yes, it should be talked about. It's not the big news. The big news is still Mr. Beast hiring Delaware. Mr. Beast employing Delaware, employing an RSO, knowing the story, fully knowing he's an RSO, hiring him to participate in kids content, managing kids content, but somehow both Nathan W. and Jake the Viking are the villains here? Something's not passing the sniff test. Something is not making sense logically in the story. I could point it out all day and night. And as you can see, I'm on my Ballbusters account. If you didn't see my video recently, I got blocked by Keemstar. I'm not blocked by Drama Alert, but I laid it out in another video. Again, all these links are going to be down in the description below. Mr. Beast hired a brand new PR company that assisted in the cover-up of the Harvey Weinstein story. He was Harvey Weinstein's personal crisis manager and assisted with Miramax. Why is it that we're now seemingly all talking about Jake the Viking in this story when nobody seems to be wanting to talk about the big elephant in the room that Jake, Nathan, and a lot of other people keep trying to point out and trying to redirect us to knowing Mr. Beast hired him. Jimmy knew the entire time, and the Delaware story wasn't important until the recent dog pack story. Everybody wants to lambaste and attack Jake and Nathan for all their stuff with Delaware, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. It's not a good look. But nobody cared about Delaware until the dog pack story. And now seemingly, Delaware is all that people can talk about, and they're ignoring what's going on with Mr. Beast. That's the real curiosity here, and that's the real question. What's really happening there? I'm on the line of saying, I think Drama Alert and Keemstar have been paid off by Mr. Beast and their company because all of a sudden they no longer want to talk about them. And there's some real news that's going on there that nobody seemingly wants to talk about. But hey, I guess we're going to drag a man for not talking about his brother-in-law that wasn't important until he was okay. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me get you guys' thoughts on all this down in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with friends, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for every time I put out a new video go live, guys. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.